What's cracking, people? It's your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians, operating globally and beyond. So listen, today I wanted to strike a contrast between what can be considered a diesel or a Decepticon. Now, this all got started while doing research for a Patreon installment of The Seducer and the Sage. Now, the focus case study was former college student athlete Erica Fontaine. The link to the podcast is down below. But before I went about the task of doing research for the podcast, I gave my loyal patrons, shout out to the Hot House, I gave them the opportunity to choose which of these two case studies to select. Now, there was an overwhelming, surprising, I didn't see this coming, there was an overwhelming vote for number one. But that's another story for another day. However, when I was doing the research, I came across an article that stated that Erica has a OnlyFans page. Now, this person is a college athlete, has some celebrity, is easily first ballot 100 octane. Okay, 22-year-old, 5'5", thicker than a snicker. It's great. However, when I saw this article about her having an OnlyFans page, it made me think. We know that the OnlyFans phenomenon is a relatively new platform, and it has been historically associated with diesel behavior, women who are in the sex industry, trading sex or sexual images, racy photos, activities or whatever for money. I know diesels that have OnlyFans, both male and female, and it's a common, alternative revenue source, right? But in this modern space, especially in 2020, with all of the events that have taken place, a lot more pedestrian people, a lot of people who are not classically in the diesel category, have been starting OnlyFans, especially women, and they're seeing it as an alternative to this economic downturn that we've seen globally. But the question that stuck out in my mind when I was doing the research was, we have a 100 octane here, okay? The case study is definitely a 100 octane. She gets flown out, beach lifestyle, very attractive, is around and associated with actual celebrities. But when a person like this in this space, or even a 92 octane or 89 octane or whatever, when they choose to start an OnlyFans page, does that now move them into the diesel category? Now, that's not necessarily an easy question to answer, in my opinion, because the nature of a person's OnlyFans could not be that of pornography. It could not be having live sex for pay. It could be them just, wearing certain types of clothes, fully clothed. They can be fully clothed. They're even, traditional, quote unquote, traditional women who wear hijabs or scarves or completely wrapped from head to toe that have OnlyFans, and they just, feature themselves walking through life, ordering coffee, doing menial tasks or whatever. So it's not the traditional portal for diesel behavior. However, it is an exchange of viewing pleasure for the user for money from the presenter. So does that blur the line of diesel culture, or is it expanding the scope of diesel culture, or is the OnlyFans phenomenon simply another tool to add to a person's, particularly women, to add to their tool chest of resource acquisition mechanisms? That's really what the question is, in my opinion. Is the OnlyFans phenomenon another way of women using what they have to get what they want or need in terms of money, resources, attention, status in some cases? It's a complex question, especially when you think about what the spectrum of what is demure, what are the boundaries for ladylike behavior as opposed to a woman expressing female nature, which tends to be more provocative, more seductive, putting more of oneself out there. Now, before I cover the remainder of this particular podcast, I want to take a little digression and shout out C Boogie over at the Dom Game Division. Now, he recently presented a live that's still up over on his channel. I'll leave a link to that. But over the course of this live, he was pointing out the behavior and the shift in behavior of certain men within the manosphere, more specifically the black manosphere, and how they interact with each other and their channels, but how they act with up-and-coming, fresh-faced, new female content creators who target the manosphere in terms of the subject matter that these young women present, in terms of the live streams that they host, and ultimately the discussions that they moderate. And again, I'll drop the link down below to the live stream. What was interesting was once C Boogie was done speaking with his guest, he dropped the link so that a panel could be formed to disseminate what happened and just look at the bigger picture. That is really where the value in that particular live stream happens, because in the midst of men observing the various elements that exist according to the original topic, which I'll let you go over and see and judge for yourself. But long story short, you take alleged, okay, in some cases alleged, young and attractive women and give them topics which have been widely discussed in the space. Add the element of the super chat, Cash App, PayPal, which in and of themselves are great tools to support value-driven content, but you put that in the mix with men who simply want to be in the presence and to have the opportunity to interact with and chat with the type of woman that they don't normally chat with or interact with on a regular basis, and you get a YouTube version of OnlyFans. Now, I won't go too far in depth with that here. That wasn't my original focus, but I will drop this pic right here under the description of Erica Fontaine's OnlyFans account. Shows what she's offering, pics / videos, behind the scenes, day in the life, and chat with me right above the subscription amount. So I'm not saying, but I'm saying that's precisely the formula that's being presented. And again, hit the link below, see for yourself. I think that there were some interesting elements that were brought about that are showing this current trend that's unfolding right now in real time. Shifting gears, I want to strike a contrast between this particular conversation and pivot into a higher level conversation. Now, you know that the office of the president is the quintessential example, or should be the representation for what the society should strive to or aspire to when presenting in public. I want to contrast two articles of the most recent First Ladies. This first one is of the current First Lady, in an article by the New York Post, which shows that she was a whole porn star. Yes, you're reading this correctly. You can go ahead and research that yourself. The current First Lady is a whole porn star. Now, of course, none of that is discussed today. It's not out of respect for the office, right? Whatever that means. But let's compare that to this article that was presented by the former First Lady. Never did anything provocative, racy, or questionable in the public eye, but was held to such scrutiny that articles were written about her exposing her arms in public. Gentlemen, at the end of the day, the reason why I presented so many cases to show you the range of perceptions that women can have, either painted by the media, the public, or women themselves. As men, we need to protect our spaces in which we come to in order to exchange information, listen to those who have experience and who actually have actionable steps and information to take away from these spaces. But most importantly, we have to protect these all-male spaces so that they do not get corrupted and taken over by outside interests who are not invested in bringing clarity, who are not invested or interested in bringing an external perspective to men so that they can have the best information going forward, but who are invested in blurring the lines further and creating an atmosphere of mistrust, an atmosphere of chaos, so that we're not only further confused about female nature, but we also as men have one less tool in order to combat the toxic results of female nature going unchecked. At the end of the day, gentlemen, just like I said in the beginning, that OnlyFans is yet another tool that women have to extract costs from men. Our spaces are tools for us to observe those costs, review those costs, and to determine whether or not those costs are worth it at the end of the day for us individually and collectively. Lastly, I want to make a distinction between a diesel woman and a Decepticon, because a diesel woman is probably one of the most upfront people you'll ever meet. Pay for play. With a Decepticon, she will present herself as one thing, but by the time she's done getting what she wants to from you, you will be the one looking like the broke, busted, and played tool. As always, this is your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying, stay sharp and mission focused. Later.